Welcome to the Real Estate Roundtable. My name is Skip Robinson and I'll be your host, where we bring in top professionals to discuss the real estate industry. Today we have Billy Hineline with us from FWH Professional Group. And so Billy, why don't you tell us what you do, what your group does, how long you've been doing it?
Okay, well, my name is Billy Hineline. I'm from FWH Professional Group. We're a consulting firm and we concentrate on working with property sellers. So we teach the sellers how to get the right realtor, tricks and traps of your transaction, contracts, commissions, listings. I've been involved in the real estate industry for over 30 years in every aspect. I've owned a real estate company, worked with buyers, worked with sellers, been a land developer, so we've pretty much done it all.
Great. So when a seller wants to list their home, okay, what are the important things you think they need to know?
I tell every seller there are three main things. First of all, use a realtor and find the right realtor. Secondly, have your home priced properly for today's market. And third, which is so important, have your home in show shape at showtime.
Well, let's take a look at the first one. You talk about a realtor. Why should you use a realtor?
Well, realtors are professionals like everything else, and the realtors, two main things. A realtor is going to get your home sold in the shortest amount of time for the most amount of money. It is their job. They're up on your current market. They're on your current market, tricks and trends going on in your neighborhood. There's things that's going on that they need to know. They know how to market your property. So you want to make sure you've got the right person. Real estate is just like construction. You don't call a roofer for a leaky toilet. So you don't want a commercial guy to sell your house. Right. You might have a fellow that's the top in the luxury market. They can sell a $5 million house tomorrow. They can't sell a $150,000 house. It's not where they have their connections or their expertise. So you want to make sure you have the right realtor.
So how do you determine the asking price for a house?
Okay. The asking price, first of all, let me start with telling you this. How much you paid, how much you wanted net, how much the guy down the street sold his house for, has nothing to do with the value of your property. You need to know today's market value. Your realtor is going to do something called a CMA. It's a price comparison analysis of what's going on today. They're going to look at homes like yours going back 3 to 6 months that are currently on the market, which we'll call that the competition. More importantly, the ones that have sold. So by going through that, they're going to gather that information and come up with, here's how much your house is worth today. And that price is the only price that's important. That's what banks look at, it's what appraisers look at, it's what insurance companies are going to look at. So it doesn't matter what you want. You can sell for $50,000 over market value. You better hope that your buyer doesn't need a mortgage because they're not going to get one.
Okay.
That's really important. The other thing is, let's go back to realtors. I talk about tricks and traps.
All right.
Realtors, I call it beware of the sheep dressed in wolf's clothing. You can talk to 5 different realtors, and 4 realtors tell you your house is worth $250,000. The last realtor tells you your house is worth $300,000.
Yeah.
Happens all the time. Who do you go with? The guy that says $300,000. Now that your house is now going to just set on the market, and what they're going to tell you in a couple of months is, I think we need to lower the price to get some activity. Well, of course. They'll do that 2 or 3 times till it gets down to where it should be, and then it gets offered. Why do realtors do this? It works.
Okay. So what are your thoughts about? Should you actually do that?
No, that should be a big red flag. Again, each one of these realtors will probably bring you a CMA. You'll probably see that the other 4 have similar properties, and the guy with a higher price has different properties, and if it's too good to be true, it probably is.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so how about the condition of the home? What should people do to prepare their home?
You've got to be ready for that. You have to have, don't lose your sale because the grass is high, you didn't paint this, you got a leak in the ceiling in the master bedroom. You need to fix this stuff. Your realtors work very hard to bring the prospective buyer to your house. There are thousands, in some areas tens of thousands of competitive properties. When they're coming to yours, you don't get a second chance at the first impression. So you need to make sure you have your house looking right when they come there. You know what? And it can hurt you in actually even getting on a show list. There's another trick that some realtors, that's called a technique, let's not call it a trick. There's another technique that professional realtors will use, and what properties they're going to show. In this technique, there are three types of properties. There is the top property, there is the bottom property, then there's a target property. Let me tell you about the three. The top property is a property like your client's looking for, but it's overpriced. It's priced higher than some of the other competitors.
Gotcha.
Then there's the bottom property. It's priced right. There's something inferior about the property. It may not be as good a neighborhood. There may be things that have to be fixed. There's a problem with it. Then there's a target property. That is a property that's in good show shape. It's priced right for today's market. When that realtor goes out, he knows which house he's going to write a contract on today.
Right.
And the truth of the matter is, he can't do that unless somebody else is giving him top properties and bottom properties. You don't want to be one of those. You want to have your house in good shape, have your house priced right. That's how you get activity. That's how you get real offers for your property.
That's makes sense, you know.
It happens all the time, all across the country. It doesn't matter where you are, it works.
I've got some good stories. I won't go into that right now. Let's say you have a really good realtor. You finally get a contract on your house.
Okay.
Should you get an attorney as well as using a
I
realtor?
always recommend you use an attorney. And then, not to be redundant, an attorney, going back to the same thing as I told you about the contractor. Don't use a roofer for a leaky toilet. Don't use a divorce attorney for a real estate transaction. You want to get a real estate attorney. Things that can happen here could cost you thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars. Spend a couple $100, and quite frankly, you know, they're going to catch the little pitfalls in your contract. You know, there's something that we're referred to as out clauses, which is very important. A buyer, could put in a couple out clauses in there that gets them out of the agreement. They get their deposit back, and you're stuck. You might have taken your house off the market for 2 months.
Things that are not in the standard agreement.
Yeah. You know, a very good case in point happens to be a mortgage contingency clause. They might put a term in there for the mortgage contingency that they know they can't get. So they get out a couple months, and all of a sudden they decide they found another house they like better. They'll use that clause to get out of your contract, and you have to give their money back. If they're still happy with it, they'll close.
Yeah,
But
gotcha.
you know, your attorney's going to catch that out clause and correct it and protect you.
Let's get back to the realtors for a second.
Okay.
Your strong feelings on realtors. The commission is negotiable. How do you feel about the commission structure, and should you negotiate?
Commissions are always negotiable. I always jokingly say it's not just a good idea, it's the law in most states, if not all states. You can win the battle and lose the war. You know, first of all, you have to understand how commissions work. And commissions, that's called the total commission. In most places, including where we are here in Palm Beach County, Florida, it ranges between 5 and 6%. We're going to use 6% for this example.
Okay.
And that 6%, there's two sides of a commission. There's a listing side and there's a sale side. The listing side goes to the office that listed your property and is responsible for marketing it and getting the buyers here. The sales side is the office that actually has the buyer. You know, they're the ones bringing the buyer to you.
Right.
Those commissions are usually split equally 50-50 between the two sides. Now, you need to know this. Your listing agent is the one who determines that. They will tell the guy bringing the buyer how much they're willing to pay.
Right.
So they know that up front.
It's on the listing agreement.
It's on the listing agreement. So let's go back to 6%. Can you talk your realtor down to 5%? Some cases you can. But when you do, it's a trade-off. You're giving up something.
Right.
They're not going to do as much advertising. They're not going to do the marketing that they would normally do. They may not do open houses. They may not be in a car caravan. So it could be any one of those things.
Yeah.
You're giving up something. Even bigger than that is when you're splitting that commission. At 6%, the guy bringing the buyer already knows he's getting paid 3%. Now, I have a buyer for $250,000. I'm going to go in the MLS and I'm going to do a search for what my buyer wants.
Yeah.
Let's say I come up with 20 properties. There are 10 properties that are paying 3% commission to me. The other 10 are paying 2.5% commission to me. More times than not, that buyer is going to see 3 to 5 properties paying 3%.
Right.
You know, so the ones that's paying 2.5% aren't even making the show list. Not even going to make the show list.
Well, that's interesting. You talk about commissions and you know, motivating the
Sure.
motivating the selling realtor to
absolutely.
bring in clients.
People don't get realtors don't get paid by the hour.
It can amount to tens of thousands of dollars.
Oh yeah. So they're going to go for the dollars.
Okay, well that ends our first segment. We'll going to take a sponsor break, and we'll be right back for the Real Estate Roundtable.
Hi, I'm John Lovitz. You're watching WRPB ITV
it took you 2 times.
in Florida.
John, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Back to the Real Estate Roundtable. I'm your host, Skip Robinson. We're back with Billy Hineline of FWH Professional Group. Let's get back on track about preparing your home.
Okay.
Or what are some of the, how do you feel about staging your home?
You know what? Staging has really become mainstream in the last 15 or 20 years, and it never used to get the credibility that it needed. The bottom line, it is hugely important. People don't realize little things because you live in your house, you're totally comfortable with your house.
Yeah.
Little things people have to know about staging. You can stage it yourself. I don't recommend this. Get a professional stager. If selling your house is important, get a professional stager. One of the things that they'll know that you don't know, clutter. You got your stuff everywhere. As far as you're looking at it, it's okay, it belongs there. No, it don't. Another thing a stager is going to do, almost first thing, they're going to go around and take down all your personal pictures. This is very important. When that buyer comes into your house, you want them to picture them living in your house. When you've got all your pictures everywhere, it's still your house. You want to try to do that. That's two of the first things the stager is going to do. Get rid of the clutter and take down all the personal photographs and everything. So very important.
Okay, yeah. Your house has been on the market for a while now.
Okay.
What about dropping the price?
You know, dropping the price is so funny, and it's a realtor's number one way to get activity. They'll always tell you, the first thing we got to do is lower the price. Yeah, no. You can do that several times. You also don't want to ride the middle down, but you got to have your house. If you have your house priced properly already, before you drop your price, I always suggest this. Let's say you got a $250,000 house and your realtor is suggesting you drop the price $10,000. Okay. Before you drop that price $10,000 again, offer that same $10,000 as a bonus to the realtor that brings you the buyer. Put a timeline on it. You've got 15 days to bring me an acceptable contract. Make sure your realtor tells everybody. I'm not talking about they just put it in the MLS, because if these people aren't following the MLS and they don't have a search set up, they're not going to know about it. Have them do an email blast to all the realtors in the area. Have them do an open house. I would like to see them do 2 open houses. I would like to see them do a broker's open house during the week. So all those people that have buyers are going to come during the week, actually see the property, because they're all there for that extra 10 grand. Then on the weekend, they're going to bring their buyers. Let me tell you why that works. Now on the weekend, there's a bunch of buyers there. You created a buzz. There's activity. Somebody's going to make an offer on that property.
Gotcha.
You know, if they all do their job, you know, if nothing happens in 2 weeks, then lower the price. But before you do that, offer it as a bonus. I promise you, you'll get activity.
Well, yeah, great idea.
Yeah.
I understand you're a new author,
Yeah.
and some of the things we're talking about are covered in your new book.
Absolutely.
Want to
yeah.
take a few minutes and tell us about your...
I'm happy to say a labor of love that's taken a couple years. I just authored a book, Seller's Guide for Today's Homeowner. It is now available nationally in Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and of course our personal website, which you can go there, which is fwhprofessionalgroup.com, fwhprogroup.com. And there's when you land there, there's a link right there to buy the book. everybody selling a property should read this book before they talk to a realtor. This book talks about everything, commissions, it talks about listing agreements, sales contracts, tricks, traps, things to do, and why it is. This is written to put your realtor and the seller on the same page. This tells the seller why the realtor are doing some of the things that they're doing.
Right.
It's also telling the seller what some of their responsibilities are. Tells them how to pick the right realtor. You know, having the wrong realtor can cost you money.
Right.
So this stuff is all very, very important. I'm very excited about the book. Realtors should read it too, because it's a great, every realtor wants their buyers, their sellers to read my book. They're not going to talk the commission down. They're going to know why the realtors are charging what they're doing. They're going to know why we do open houses, why we do this, why we do that, but they're always on the same page. So it's good for everybody to read this, and we have high hopes for the book.
Okay, so thanks. Now, getting back to saving your sellers tens of thousands of dollars, you have a special program. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
We do. I have a program called the Triple M Advantage, and that stands for multimedia marketing. And the Triple M Advantage, it is based on a couple of concepts. There are two ways. First of all, let me tell you, this program is based for properties between 2 and 10 million. Okay. It can really go over 10 million, but it really shouldn't go under 2. And it is designed to save the sellers tens of thousands of dollars in real estate commissions. There's basically two ways to sell this property. A really, really good marketing campaign. Video, all the right publications, professional photographs, and this costs a little bit of money. So that's one route. The other route is to offer a bonus or a slightly higher commission. Either one of these are going to get you activity to sell your property.
Makes
sense. And what I like to do is I like that we can do both for the record. I happen to like the second one where we offer a bonus, and as I was saying, I like the bonus. You know, and this system works around that. The other thing when it comes to these type of properties is I call share the risk, share the rewards, and it's basically what happens is it costs thousands of dollars to market a property, especially a luxury property. Now you can have some really great realtors out there that either don't have thousands of dollars, or quite frankly, they're just not willing to spend it. Right. They're not going to go in their pocket and spend $5,000, $8,000, $10,000 and hope they get a buyer for your property. Right. So this program calls for the sellers actually putting up a couple $1,000s just to promote their property. Now, in exchange for that, here's where the savings comes in. In exchange for that, they get a reduced listing commission. If you remember we talked about splitting it 3-3. Well, what happens is they'll list their property at 5%. Here comes the bonus. Now what's going to happen is our realtor is going to offer the buyer's agent 3.5%. Now that's 3.5%.
That's
I'm
nice
telling you, the top of the market across the board on there is going to be 3%. That half a point on a $2 million property is a real $10,000 in commission for that buyer. They're showing your property. Now what happens is, so you're paying a point less. They're going to list it at 5% and not 6%. So you save $20,000 in real estate commission on a $2 million property. As your property goes up, you actually are going to save much more than that. Also with this program, that $2,000 and change that you put up to market your property gets refunded to you at the closing table, you know, which is nice. I personally don't want your listing. I'm a professional marketer. That's what I do. I have a couple of realtors on my staff that also have 30 years experience. So you've got a professional team. Our team is not out there trying to get 20 listings and I have 20 agents trying to sell them. Do a couple at a time and you've got a professional team. I'm the marketer. I've got 2 realtors, all with 30 plus years experience trying to sell your property. Okay.
So why would a luxury home seller want to use your guys, rather than one of the more well-established, you know, big marketing, you know, real estate companies out in the marketplace?
There's a couple of reasons for that, and a part of it is what I just mentioned. You know, we don't have dozens of agents trying to sell dozens of properties. I've got a small team of real professionals trying to sell a couple properties. Mm-hmm. Now, All those guys in those big offices are looking for the properties for their buyers. What we do, we take the property to them. Our team does a search. They look through the area. Who's selling most of the houses in the area where your house is?
Yeah.
Who's buying them? Who's representing the sellers? We know who's they call it farming. Who's farming that area?
Right.
We know who those guys are that have the buyers. We call them and say, look, we got this. And there's a bonus. Do you think you're getting activity? You think you're getting showings? Yeah, you will. Most big agencies aren't going to do that because, quite frankly, they're just too big. Don't get me wrong. They're professional. They got great connections, but most of them won't give you the service that we're going to give you. That's one. And you have to have a big reach. That's another thing. People don't realize you go to a realtor that got the wrong realtor, they're advertising in the local paper, the local magazines. I'm here to tell you, I live in Southeast Florida. Most of the buyers aren't from here.
Right.
So you put it in the local paper, none of your buyers are going to see it.
Yeah.
A good percentage of the luxury market in all of South Florida, first of all, is cash buyers. Secondly, international. They're not here. Your marketing has to be in an international base. We expose your property to hundreds of thousands of realtors across town, across the country, and around the world through our social media. We're already connected to hundreds of thousands of realtors here and abroad that we're going to expose your property to. That's also real important. You know, you got to go to where the buyers are. They're not necessarily right here. And the other big thing is the team. Like I said, I've got 30 years marketing experience. I personally do not want your listing. I won't handle your listing. However, I need to let you know, I am a licensed realtor. And I have to be licensed, so when I'm sitting down with my clients, I can talk about the listing. And I can talk about the terms and conditions. Can't do that without being licensed. I'm not taking your listing, but I want everybody to know that I am licensed. And then I've got two other fellows. You happen to be one of them. A 30-year professional in the industry, licensed professional, and then of course our third cohort is Mr. Neil Petrie, a licensed broker in the state of Florida for over 30 years. So between the three of us, we've got it pretty much covered. So you got a small team professional. We only want to handle a couple properties at a time. When we sell one, we'll replace it with another. We don't need to have 30 listings out there, one at a time, because quite frankly, it's word of mouth. You know, when we sell your property, we just saved you $20,000 or $30,000 in commissions. We got it done in the least amount of time for the most amount of money. You know, when you go to the country club, I want you to tell all your friends about that, so your friends start calling us.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time social media and doing marketing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that pretty much kind of ends the show. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how the viewers can reach you?
Okay, my name again is Billy Hineline for FWH Professional Group. You can reach us at 561-290-5207. You can go to our website, fwhprogroup.com, or you can send me a personal email at fwhprogroup.gmail.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Well, that brings us to the end of the show. We'd like to thank our sponsors, DB Home Improvement, serving the Treasure Coast and Northern Palm Beach County, and FWH Professional Group, who serve sellers everywhere. And once again, thank you for watching the Real Estate Roundtable, and hopefully you'll be watching us on the next show.